Palantir is doing something almost nobody on Wall Street expected. While the broader market struggles, Palantir's exploded past $154, and one top analyst is now calling for $260, the highest price on the street. But here's a twist. Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel just filed to sell $280 million worth of stock. So what's really going on here? Is this a major insider warning or the final shakeup before Palantir's next AI-driven breakout toward $200? In today's video, we're breaking down the three massive catalysts that could send Palantir significantly higher, as well as we'll be looking at technicals to see where smart investors need to position. First of all, a very quick challenge here for our community. If we can get this video to 100 likes, I'll release an exclusive deep dive investment thesis on Palantir, covering everything from the long-term AI roadmap to the key institutional levels are watching and the fundamentals that you need to look out for if you are a Palantir investor. So if you want that breakdown, smash the like button, drop a comment with your Palantir price target, and share this video with another investor who's watching the AI space. Now, first of all, let's cover the fundamentals and earnings of Palantir. And this is where I believe the company really separates itself from the rest of the so-called AI hype stocks. Because while many companies are still talking about AI, Palantir is already monetizing it at a scale. Looking at the numbers, Palantir's revenue surged 70% year over year, a growth rate that most mature software companies can only dream about. But the real story is happening inside one specific segment, and that is US commercial. This division absolutely exploded, growing 137%. And that really tells us something critical. Companies are no longer just experimenting with AI. They are actually deploying Palantir's AIP platform across entire organizations. That means real contracts, real infrastructure, and real long-term recurring revenue. Now, looking ahead, management is projecting around $7.20 billion in revenue by 2026, which completely blew past Wall Street's previous estimates. And when guidance beats expectations like that, analysts start raising price targets extremely fast. But of course, there's one argument that you will hear everywhere. Palantir is too expensive. Right now, the stock trades at roughly 115 times forward earnings, and yes, on the surface, that looks incredibly rich. But here's a counter-argument. Analysts at Citi say Palantir is extraordinary because it occupies a unique position in two worlds at the same time. First of all, you have government intelligence and enterprise AI infrastructure. Very few companies in the world have that kind of positioning, which is why some analysts believe that Palantir could become the operating system for AI-driven decision-making. And if that thesis plays out, today's valuation might look not so crazy 5 years from now. Now let's address the headline that caused a lot of confusion in the market. Peter Thiel selling stock. A recent filing revealed that Peter Thiel plans to sell 2 million shares, roughly worth around $280 million. And at first glance, that sounds alarming, as we know that whenever insiders sell, investors immediately ask one question: do they know something that we don't? But here's a key detail that most headlines left out. Now, this sale was executed under a Rule 10b 5-1 trading plan, which Thiel adopted all the way back in November of 2025. That means that the transaction was pre-scheduled months in advance, specifically to avoid insider trading concerns. In other words, this wasn't a sudden decision based on new information. And even after this sale, Thiel still owns roughly 229 million shares of Palantir, so he remains massively invested in his own company for the long-term success. But the bigger story is that the reason that the stock is actually moving comes from something much larger. Recent reports surrounding Operation Epic Fury revealed that Palantir's Gotham and AIP platforms played a critical role in coordinating intelligence during recent US and Israeli strikes against Iran. Now, according to defense analysts, Palantir's software helped unify massive streams of battlefield data, including satellite imagery, drone surveillance, and intercepted communications. All of that information was processed into what some officials describe as a real-time warfare dashboard. And that's a massive shift in how modern conflicts are managed, because Palantir isn't just selling software, it's becoming the core infrastructure for national security. In fact, Rosenblatt Securities specifically cited that the rising global instability as one of the main reasons they raised their price targets on Palantir to $200. So the question that investors are now asking is simple. If Palantir becomes the AI backbone for government and enterprises, how big could this company actually get? So here we are, traders, on this overall daily chart of Palantir. We'll be assessing the potential price action of the company here. So if you guys saw my Patreon post, we have predicted that the stock would reach this levels of 153, Any individual that was part of a membership has seen that we have been telling individuals to be buying this name heavily at the levels here of this anchored VWAP because this was a prior area of resistance. We see here that if we anchored from this exact drop, from the April lows that caused pretty much a 40% drop here on Palantir, we saw that that was a level of heavy resistance for quite a while here, where a lot of investors actually, got pretty scared. They sold their positions, and it wasn't until this overall day here around $97 that the majority of investors actually who were long started to make money here on average. And we're very well above it for the majority of the year up until now. We tested here Palantir at this exact overall zone. And this was due obviously to the overall SaaS apocalypse, where the majority of investors have been concerned that potentially artificial intelligence could replace a lot of software names. I do believe that these names are, heavily discounted, and that is why we were arguing for individuals to buy Palantir exactly at this overall level. And if you listen to our trading algorithm, you were pretty much up around 23% here. Now, if we look at the potential areas of resistance where overall Palantir could encounter some resistance, it would be here if we anchor from this swing high anchored VWAP, and that is where currently we are going to be finding some overall areas of overall supply on Palantir. So I wouldn't be too surprised that over the next couple of trading days, we see something like this similar to Palantir. We do this, break up, and we kind of do a fake out. We pull a little bit more aggressively, right? And then we form that higher low that we need for the formation of the longer term trend. We find buyers, and then we slowly move up towards the upside like that. So that would be the overall scenario that I believe Palantir would do. As we move from 128 all the way to 150, we are prone for a pullback, because that's a very big advancement here, and 21% in just 7 days. With the pullback, it would allow for buyers to take some profit here, and they average here to the higher low, so it would be a formation kind of like that, right? So we have the overall low form here, and then that would be the higher low, and we'd be seeing that continued trend structure over time as the stock goes up. We would see something like this for the anchored VWAP. It would kind of flatline, start to decline a little bit, and then as we get above it, exactly at this point, it would start to rise. During this general zone, this is where the anchored VWAP would start to rise, and this is where we want to be buyers, right? And we would place our stop at the most recent and relevant higher low, which would be here at this exact general zone. So I put like an orange signify my stop. And then obviously as the stock goes up even higher towards the first price target that I have on Palantir, I firmly believe that it can challenge its highs around 198. Obviously, I would take some profit and pretty much move my stop loss even higher. So we'd probably see something like this. It's going up, and it reaches that level. Then we would move our stop slowly, higher lows, and then we just move it towards the next higher low to really assess our risk and just, make sure that we trade overall with the trend, because, the trend is our friend here in these cases. And let's say that, it pulls back and then, we get stopped out, right? But we managed to get a very nice return here on Palantir. That is going to be my thesis on what I believe is going to happen. And then if, for example, we see even more bids, I believe that my overall second price target is going to be 240 on Palantir. That is where I see the stock going over the next couple of months because of the overall financials of the company, as well as the overall Iran conflict, which is now prone to be extended towards September of this year, based due on recent reports here. And we have also been seeing increased volume here from the past 30 days on Palantir. So I'm absolutely bullish. I'll say it again. First price targets of 198 and second towards 241, a swing trading strategy for the long term. So here's the bottom line. Palantir is quickly evolving from an AI hype stock into a core infrastructure play used by governments and major corporations worldwide. But I want to hear from you guys. Do you think Palantir can actually reach that $260 price target, or is the 115x valuation a red flag? Comment bull or bear on Palantir below, and if you want more breakdowns on the biggest AI stocks and market-moving trades, make sure to subscribe to Uplift Markets to turn on notifications. I'll see you guys in the next video.